This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 462 of the Dressage Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network, brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products, Total Saddle Fit, and Equine Comfort Products. Coming up on today's show, we have an interview with Bella Zdolshek, who is the youngest competitor to earn her USDF gold medal. And Justin from Total Saddle Fit joins us to discuss saddle construction. And we have a listener question to get to for today.
Stanfield from Loxahatchee, Florida.
And this is Philip Parks from Rockwood, Ontario, and you're listening to the Dressage Radio Show. Hello, Reese.
Hi, Phil. How are you this week?
Well, I'm doing good. I think we're about a month away from show season, so I'm getting happier guy. Just as soon as the weather gets above zero, we'll be fine.
Oh, gosh. I feel for everybody. There was an event at home, and it was snowing and 24 degrees. I mean, it was a disaster. So
you got to be tough to do this sport, right? So this is a real
I would have stayed home and drank hot chocolate. No way. I would have been like, not showing today. Yeah.
All right. Well, I have to congratulate you. You are the most recent graduate of the USDF certification program, and you are now fit to teach the FEI levels. Yeah. So they say. I don't know.
Yeah, so they say, for sure. Thanks, Phil.
Tell us about that. Tell us about the process of getting certified, what the whole thing is all about.
So everyone's calling me number 7. That's just what my name is now, number 7. So I'm apparently the 7th instructor to go through the program to get my FEI certification. So it's very similar to a master's or sort of PhD type situation. I mean, it's a difficult thing to do, but I would encourage people to do it because it really, very rarely in our sport is there a time where you actually have to go and sort of get some continuing education and put yourself out there. I think that's the scariest part of the program, but you also get a ton of support from USDF. And I was also lucky to win the Dressage Foundation grant to do the program, which is very helpful because there is a financial component to the program. But basically for the FEI certification, you have to, I think, have 5 letters of recommendation. Then you go to a panel that approves you to go on to the workshops. And then you go to the workshops and you can do as many as you would like, but there's only so many workshops offered. So I did 2 workshops. And then from those workshops, you apply to test, and the committee says if you're ready to test or not. And then if you are ready to go test, you have a written exam, you have an oral exam, you have a riding exam, and you have a teaching exam. So I taught 2 people and I rode 2 horses. One, Elon Court got to come out and do the program. I needed an FEI horse. So he got to be put to work that day. And I had a very distinguished panel. I think that is one thing that you really have to, for me, there was significant nerves going in. I know how to handle them in the ring, but, to go teach is a different story. But I had Lilo Four, who's the head of the program, Ann Gribbins, who is the head judge for the WEG, if you really want to make yourself nervous, and Charlotte Bradal, who is the young rider coach for the U.S. with George Williams. So very distinguished panel, but actually they were great and they really tried. I mean, of course, it's a testing environment, so there's a significant level of stress, but they really tried to put me at ease and make it as easy as possible. And so I would encourage people to do it. I think the certification program has been great as I've developed as an instructor. And we as teachers, we can always get better at our jobs. And that's what I did with this program. So, it was very nerve-wracking. It was nerve-wracking. It was hard. And I communicate, as you guys know, I do this for a living, from teaching and in the show. But there's a little different level of anxiety with it, but I'm really glad I did it. And like I said, it's a very distinguished group, that I'm just really thrilled to be a part of. So I would encourage anybody and everybody, to start with I did I call him the baby instructor, but, I did it's a little different now, the program, than when I went through, but I was certified training level through 4th level in 2004. And I was young, I was 24 at the time. And I'm a very different instructor than I was then, hopefully better, but maybe I've learned a few things. But it was 14 years till I came back and tested again. So, but I think it's such a great program. I think just learning techniques of lunging and lunging a rider, and it's really important. So, I would encourage everybody to get involved with the program if you can. And if you have any questions about it, I am thrilled to answer them. And there are other instructors too that would as well. So, that's what I was up to. Well, it's been a week and a half.
Yeah, you've been taking you a long time to
about 2 years
when you decide to apply, and then going through it. So great, we're proud of you.
Thank you very much. That was really sweet, so appreciate it.
And what else? We got some other things going on with the USDF.
So I was just cruising through the magazine, I'm not going to lie, and I saw this. It's a new equitation adult amateur program. So it's the USDF Regional Adult Amateur Equitation Program is the newest opportunity for adult amateur riders competing in dressage at all levels. Adult amateurs may qualify to compete at the USDF Adult Amateur Equitation Regional Final Class, which is held at each of the 9 USDF regionals, by scoring a 70% or higher in any dressage seat equitation class held at a USDF licensed show or USEF licensed show, and also by qualifying to compete at the regional championships, excluding freestyles. So it's a cool program. It's new, so look it up on the website, on the USDF website. It's there, and that would be great. So take a look at that and see what you think. So
always new stuff coming out from them.
It really is. It's really cool. There's always new stuff, and it's great.
Innovating and making it fun for people and getting people involved in all ways. I like it.
Yeah, I do too. So I thought that was really cool. So I marked it and wanted to get it up on the show. So there you go. So that's what I got.
All right. Well, I think we got a good show on here too. Lots of learning going to happen.
Love it. That's what we're here for. So right after this break from Kentucky Performance Products, we're going to come back with Bella Zdolshek, who also just got a USDF award.
The sun is just peeking above the tree line as you walk into the barn. You grab your horse's halter off the hook and head out to the field. The dew shimmers in the sun as you walk across the damp grass. You call his name and his head comes up as he walks toward you, looking for the apple in your pocket. You take your time grooming, enjoying the peace and quiet in the empty barn. A refreshing breeze greets you as you start down the tree-lined path. Your horse ambles along on a loose rein as you both enjoy a relaxing ride. The feeling you get on an early morning hack is why we do what we do at Kentucky Performance Products. This feeling is brought to you by Microphase. Fill the nutritional gaps in your horse's diet. Microphase Vitamin and Mineral Supplement is a low-calorie way to provide your horse with the vitamins and minerals missing from their diet. The horse that matters to you matters to us.
Well, tonight I am so happy to introduce USDF's youngest and newest gold medalist, Bella Zdolshek, to the show. How are you, Bella?
I'm good. How are you?
I am great. Well, I was on Facebook this weekend, and you were down the street getting your USDF gold medal at the ripe old age of 14, right?
Yes, I was.
Well, congratulations. This is so cool. So for our listeners, so they know what the USDF gold medal is, because we have some international listeners. The gold medal is 60% at Intermediate 1, or sorry, 260% at Intermediate 1 from 2 different judges, and 260% at Grand Prix from 2 different judges. So Bella had to hit that feat. So Bella, I mean, congratulations.
Congratulations. That must be exciting.
Thank you. Yes,
So
it
Bella,
really is.
yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us your story.
All right. Well, I started riding horses when I was 10 years old with my trainer, Sue Kolstad. I started off riding ponies at first before I eventually got an FEI schoolmaster, Samurano. And then I went on to ride a Bashkir curly named Marley. And both of those horses helped me get my bronze and silver medals when I was 11 and 12. And I've always had this dream of getting my gold medal. And thanks to people like Christian Garwig and DeLorean, I was finally able to get it this weekend.
That's fantastic. So tell us a little bit about your horse.
Well, DeLorean was bred and born in Germany. He was imported over. He is a German sport horse, and we just bought him actually 3 months ago, I believe. He's black, 18 hands, and he loves bananas.
Actually,
That's
Bella,
nice.
all of my best horses have always liked bananas. I can't tell you what it is about it, but all my top horses have always loved bananas. So I don't know. It's a thing. It's a thing. What can I say?
Yeah, he's my first horse I've ever had to like bananas, and he actually even eats the peel.
Yeah, I know. They'll knock you down for him, I bet. So Bella, tell us a little bit about how did you come up with this goal to be the youngest USDF gold medalist? That's pretty impressive, my friend.
Thank you. Well, after training with Sue Kolstad for a while, we started talking about where I wanted to go in the future, and eventually I learned about the medals and getting your bronze, silver, and gold. And after I learned that, I just immediately got in my mind that I really want to do that and I really want to get my gold medal. I did.
Awesome.
So there's a problem a little bit in dressage in that, young people usually don't really like to do it or have the focus, or it's not really a young person's game. What is it about dressage that attracted you to be, such a high level competitor?
Oh, wow. Well, I think there's a lot of different things to actually love about dressage. And I just like how there's so many technical details that you just have to do right. And I know other people probably don't like that, but for me, I'm a little OCD and I like things to be perfect. So it's just kind of the perfect sport for me to go into because I'm trying to get like a better score each time. So yeah.
That's a great answer. So tell us about the Grand Prix. I mean, now that you've ridden it, what are some, it's hard. What are some suggestions or tips you give to other riders about that?
Oh my goodness. Well, the first time I rode it, I was extremely nervous, but I guess just for other riders, they should know that it's not as bad as it seems. And the second time I went into the ring, I was a lot calmer and I think I had a lot better of a test than I did my first time. So I just think people need to know that don't overstress it and don't overthink because, you'll go out and nail it.
Yeah, it's a good one. I mean, I think that's the hardest thing with the medals. I call you really get to ride after you get your 60% because it's a little bit of a monkey on your back, I think, at least for all my students. They really, really want the 60%, so they ride a little bit more for the score than just for the experience. But I do feel like the Grand Prix, the first few times you ride it, it's like a roller coaster. You're up, you're down, you're all around, and you really, as now that you've gotten your scores, kind of what's your next step? What are your goals from here?
Oh, well, DeLorean is actually being shipped back to Kentucky currently, and when he gets back here, we are going to continue working on the Grand Prix test, and we're going to come back out and continue showing it, hopefully getting better scores than we did our first and second time. And then after that, in the future, I'm really looking to do like the Bertina Cup. That's a big goal of mine, and who knows what else is out there in the future.
I love it. I love it. Well, Bella, we wanted to be the first ones to congratulate you on your gold medal and, show people it is possible. And all our young riders out there, you can do it. And, to be the youngest one is pretty awesome. So we really wanted to congratulate you and be the first ones. So we wish you lots of luck in the future. And I know because you're from a little bit away from me, but but I'll see you at a horse show, and I can't wait to congratulate you in person.
All right. Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye.
100% merino sheepskin saddle pads, 100% merino wool saddle pads, Grip-Tech saddle pads, and Air Ride saddle pads from Equine Comfort Products are designed for active riders, competitors, and horse enthusiasts. Let's learn more about the massive benefits of the Air Ride pads.
ECP's Air Ride pads are extremely breathable due to the series of small holes throughout the entire pad surface. The ventilation holes allow for better heat transfer and moisture wicking. This keeps the horse cool and dry, providing a greater competitive edge. Furthermore, they are durable, shock absorbing, and offer superb comfort while retaining their original shape after each use. They are antimicrobial and constructed of a TPE foam, which is a thermoplastic elastomer, preventing slipping under both wet and dry conditions. All of our pads have billet straps, and our full-size pads also include girth straps to hold the pad in place. Air Ride pads can be cleaned simply by spraying them down with cool water or wiping them off.
You can find ECP products at your local tack store, online retailers, or you can go to www.equinecomfort.com.
Well, Phil, we got a fantastic listener question we really wanted to address in this segment. So what do you got for us?
All right. Well, I'll just kind of read through the email here. It says, hello, I listen to the Horse Radio Network podcast in Australia. So we like our Australian listeners.
Mm-hmm.
I love that idea. And she has a green or younger green horse, and she wants to know how to make it clear when she wants to come back to trot or to slow the canter. How are the aids different to be you don't want to slow the canter, you want to come to trot, or vice versa. I think a lot of people have the problem of slowing the canter and trying not to trot, but also the reverse can be true on certain high energy horses that just want to stay cantering and not want to come back to trot. So what do you think? Do you have any ideas about this? Or?
Yeah, so I mean, this is a good question, because it is hard, right? I mean, that's a balancing transition, right? So, and like you said, with horses, especially young horses that are really forward, they think, oh, we're doing this transition and I'm just going to go slower in my canter. Not even really collect, just go slower. Or sometimes I want to pull against the bit. So yeah, I mean, I think this is also a little bit more technical of a question when it comes to half halting and teaching the half halt in the canter. Ideally, for this problem, I like to make sure, number one, I'm asking for the placement of the transition in a good spot. So for example, if I'm going to do a trot canter transition or a canter trot, I want to either do it in on the wall or into a corner or toward a wall if I can, something that sort of naturally backs the horse up. That's one thing that I like to do. The other thing, especially if they like to get rolling in the canter, I really like to think quality, not quantity. A lot of quantity, I think, makes horses run, especially, again, this is a Phil youngster question, but for me, a lot of times I want a little more quality, not quantity. So I have an exercise, I call it the snowman. And I like this exercise for a lot of different reasons. But let's say you're on a 20-meter circle at sea. So you start with a 20-meter circle at sea, and then over the center line, you actually do a counter 10-meter circle. So you're over, and so when you come over the center line, you actually, let's say you're doing your big circle to the right, 20 meters, and then as you're doing your 20-meter circle and you come close to the center line, I actually want to do a 10-meter circle to the left, or the head of the snowman, and then come back to the right. So a lot of times I will actually do the transition for canter. I will be trotting on a 20-meter circle. Then I will do my left circle in this case, and come back to the 20-meter circle and pick up the canter at the wall, and then do a trot transition at the next wall. So if that makes sense, I could actually diagram it and put it on our page if it makes a little bit more sense. But I love the snowman exercise for a lot of different reasons. It's also for horses that aren't as snappy to pick up the canter. A lot of times that little change of bend helps. And it's just not for a 4-year-old. I mean, you have to have a kind of educated horse for it, but it sounds like this horse is relatively educated. So that would be an exercise that I would use. And again, sort of using the bending lines to help you bring the horse back a little more on the hind legs and not so much on the front end. So Phil, you're the young horse guy. I mean, this is really up your.
Well, it's kind of a tricky question because it's not just a young horse problem. Because we, when back in the we've talked about this before, but when you come into the I1, you have to do a canter to trot. Most of your transitions, from third level on, second level even on, are going to canter walk, and then you come back to I1 and you have to do canter trot all of a sudden again.
In front of the judge.
Right, yeah.
In front of the judge. You can't hide it.
In front of the judge and just right in a very distinct and so many people have such a problem with this. So do you want to cover how you teach that a little bit or how you work on that?
The canter trot at sea. Well, there's a little praying to the dressage gods as you make that turn. I mean, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, because here the horses have really, they're really educated. They have a real ability to collect, or just kind of drop out and walk. So
right, exactly.
That
so
that's
a tricky one.
Bigger issue. It's just coming back, and I think it's a lot about practice. But
it is. But I think like you said, really, I mean, trot canter transitions are incredibly important, and I try to do them every day. I don't know about you, Phil, but I mean, trot canter, they're really a huge deal. And, they're great in warm up. Today I was working with Mikey, my 6-year-old. He's a little bit slow in the takeoff. So I probably did a lot in my lesson this morning. I did a lot of trot canter transitions, which was, it's just a really good reminder that's no matter where you are. Actually, I did it on both horses. Typically, and with all of them, I like it in the warm up. And then for my horses that are showing, the I1, first of all, I want to make sure I can really ride a good corner because it comes out of the corner. Yeah. Well, you have to ride a really, really good corner. And then that's also a transition that I start early. Like I would almost rather them do that.
Yeah, you'd rather early than late because you got extended trot coming right after.
Right,
so
exactly. And
it's very important to get a very good trot and good rhythm going before you do the second corner and come around and get on the diagonal and want to show your best extension. So I tell everybody the same thing. Yeah,
do it early. You get through the corner. Yeah, and when you were with me at Nationals, Phil, we talked about it. Like, come right into the corner and do that transition because usually, these are big. My guys are pretty big, so they take 2 strides and you're kind of in the zone where it's okay. Now, that's not the perfect transition because, of course, it should be at sea, at bounced. I'm at the, my shoulder, but that doesn't always happen. But again, that is a transition you really have to remember and put some time into that canter trot. Transition at all levels because it's in training level, it's in first level, it goes away for a little while, but it's going to come back. And the fact that it comes back again in the high levels in the small and big tour really shows you how important the canter trot transition is. So I think, it's something actually I try to do on all my horses every day. And that exercise that I shared, that snowman, that's a big one for me. I do that on a lot of horses. It helps with a lot of suppling issues and some bending issues and that kind of stuff. So, yeah. So, Phil, tell me what.
All right, here we go. Young horses, when you want to come to trot instead of collecting the canter, I mean, you're trying to keep things really simple for them. So when I'm collecting the canter, I'm going to be using a lot more inside leg, especially. Both legs on, but inside leg really teaches the horse to pick up the hind leg and recycle it under the body. So if I want to stay in canter and I want to, bring a little contact and with my body, I want to, resist it a little bit without stopping. There's you have to have a really good seat that follows the horse, when you want to go and then stops the horse when you want to stop, but you have to have a dial with it, like it's not always, stop or go. There's lots of in between. So when I'm collecting, I want to stop a little bit and then go a little bit and then stop a little bit. And, with my leg stays pretty much on the inside of the horse, really driving that canter as I create a little resistance in the contact. And with my core, I'm resisting and driving at the same time. To keep it simple, if I want the horse to trot instead of collected canter, I take my leg off. They should, trot and not stop. And, and depending on how each horse is a little bit different, depending on how much they stop or how much they drive, then I'm going to, use my inside leg accordingly, use my half halt accordingly, use my contact accordingly. If it's a horse that doesn't like to come back to trot easily, I'm going to do maybe a little something to throw it a little bit out of balance. So I'm going to maybe take a little counter bend or, counter circle to say that I want trot, not slower, smaller, or any kind of collected canter. So I have to kind of just for a moment break that canter rhythm. And then, and then they might stumble at first into the trot, but eventually they learn, okay, this is going to be a little bit different. So, and that I do that a little bit with the advanced horses too. So when they get up into that I1, when I want to make that transition at C or wherever you want to put it, I actually put the horse into a shoulder in. And then if the horse doesn't trot, I'm going to go even more angled with my shoulder in until they're even in a little bit of leg yield. And then the horse understands that when they go to shoulder in, I mean trot, not walk, not halt, that kind of thing. So again, it's just a little movement to teach them to, or just to get them out of their canter rhythm and balance, especially the horses that have a really super canter and not a great trot. They don't want to trot.
No. So
you have to just kind of adjust a little bit, throw them out of balance for a half a stride or just for a second that they learn to, they almost fall into the trot. I mean, you have to do these little tricky things and be smart about riding when you have a horse with one gait that's really much better than another one. And even, the slower gait. That can apply a little bit to horses that like to trot and don't like to walk. And don't have a good balanced walk. You have to kind of break up their rhythm that they like a little bit, let them almost not fall down, but just kind of, trip up their legs a little bit, and then they do the lower gait. And you train that carefully and over time, and then they understand you a little bit better. But what you don't want to be doing is just hauling on the reins and,
yes.
Really supple young horses, they can take their nose to their chest, and that doesn't help. So you have to be a little bit quick with your riding and quick with your half halts and quick with your when I'm talking about unbalancing the horse, so they don't get into that curled up, really behind the bit and behind your leg position, because that doesn't do them any good to learn how to use their backs and their balance. So it's tricky, but you have to kind of ask for the transition and let go within like half a second. You have to do things very quickly so that you aren't caught hauling on the reins and trying to stop. It's not about stopping the energy. It's just about changing it into the next gate, the next lower gate. So that's kind of my strategy.
Yeah,
usually
I like
works
it.
Pretty good.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's great.
It is a tricky problem though, when you have horses that want to trot all the time, and then you have some horses that just want to canter all the time, and it's hard to teach them the in-between bits. But it's always just working on the dial, being able to, take the stride shorter when you want, change the energy when you want, and just, there's black and white, but there's all these gray areas, all these in-between ways that you have to be smart and be riding. And just over time, you train the horse. It doesn't happen all in one day, but you have to have a strategy. And I think this is what we talk about all the time, all kinds of strategies. They don't all work great on every horse, but you have to have a lot of tools to figure out your unique situation.
Yeah. No, I think it's really smart. Well, that's a great question. As always, we love listener questions, so keep sending them in, and we look forward to answering the next one.
This week's dressage training tip is brought to you by Total Saddle Fit, home of the shoulder relief girth at TotalSaddleFit.com.
Well, tonight for our Total Saddle Fit tip of the week, we have Justin, Mr. Total Saddle Fit Live. Justin, welcome to the show.
Woo! Happy to be here.
We haven't had you on in forever, and actually, we've got a couple things to talk about, but I wanted to start talking a little bit about the Stretch Tech shoulder relief girth, because I sent you a question not that long ago myself, because you're so easy and so reachable, and by email at justin@totalsaddlefit.com. And I personally, Justin, have had some trouble with my big guys. I seem to get a little bit sore in the girth area. And the Stretch Tech shoulder relief girth has been a lifesaver for me. Can you tell us a little bit more on why that is? Because it helps them a lot.
Totally. So I imagine your listeners are familiar with the shoulder relief girth, the original, which basically is a uniquely shaped girth that redirects the billet line of the saddle to prevent the billets from pulling the saddle into the horse's shoulders. So what we did with the Stretch Tech shoulder relief girth kind of took everything to another level. So the most noticeable thing is a triangular shaped center elastic in the very center of the girth over the horse's sternum. So it retains all of that, the saddle fit benefits the original has, which is, like I just mentioned, it prevents the saddle from being pulled into the shoulders. It keeps it in a more natural spot. But what this does is the Stretch Tech with the elastic in the center, what that does is it contours to a horse's sternum better. It's a softer contact. It lets them breathe a little bit easier because it expands and contracts with their breath. And most importantly, the way it expands and contracts is super key, and probably why you're having so much success with it is because it stretches in the rear portion of the girth more than it does in the front. And that stretch is proportional to the shape of a horse's sternum. So it's basically like a higher performance, much more comfortable version of a shoulder relief girth.
And it's great. I mean, it really has worked. And we're lucky because Justin hooks Phil and I up, and we are able to sort of try all the different types of girths. And sometimes I'll move them around. The big guys that seem to really have to be learning how to lift their backs and contract their abs, this girth has been a lifesaver because they've all gotten a little bit funny and a little girthy. You put this on and it's gone. So that's been amazing.
Well, it's probably because they're taking big breaths. You're actually working your horse.
Yes, right. Probably.
You're not just walking around anymore.
This is so true. And Justin, what colors does it come in?
That is a great question because we just launched a couple new colors. So it comes in traditional black, as you'd expect for a dressage girth, and it comes in brown and dark brown. So we're trying to get it to match to just about any saddle you have. And there's actually one other thing too, which is relatively new. We just launched a 100% wool fleece liner option. So the Stretch Tech shoulder relief girth is a little bit unique in that it has removable liners. So what you'd consider, or what you would normally consider just like the padding of the girth, on this girth is removable. So the same girth body you can use limestone-based neoprene, you can use padded leather, and you can use 100% wool fleece. So there's 3 different liner choices, which I think I'm certain since last time we spoke, this is a new addition to the
That's new.
New thing.
Oh, I'm kind of getting excited about it.
Fantastic. I love the neoprene, actually. It's like the softest neoprene I've ever had on a girth, or like, it's got to be unique where you source that or how it's made. I don't know.
Yeah, tell us about the neoprene. I'm excited about this.
Well, it's now I've built it up too much, I think. But it's a limestone-based neoprene, which all that means is it's more natural. You can get limestone and petroleum-based neoprene products, and the limestone is like what you'll see in wetsuits. It's better for like bodies and stuff. It's a more natural version of neoprene than your more traditional petroleum-based is.
Really? See, this is why we love Justin, because I would have never even thought about the neoprene. Justin, that is awesome. Yeah, it's really cool. And I was just going to say, it's super easy to clean. I was just going to
say, I have a semi-useless fact stored on my brain that I'm happy to share with you guys.
Well, this is honestly, everybody, why we love Justin. We love his products. He really thinks about the horses and what we do on a daily basis and how to make our lives easier. And it truly does. And we use these products, and they're great products. So Justin, we're glad you think about the neoprene, because I had no idea that was a thing. Or now I'm so excited about the wool fleece liner. Like, that's great, because when you need to change it out, it's actually very easy to change. And I've had to replace the neoprene, but it's not incredibly expensive to change it, and it's great. And we really worked those. My girths were soaked today. We worked really hard down here in this Florida sun. So no, it was great. So Justin, we're really thankful for all that you do, and you can really shows your passion for what you do. It's awesome. So we grabbed you for this question, this total saddle fit tip of the week, because we felt like this was actually a really good question for you to answer, because we don't really know the answer. So Phil, take it away with the question.
All right, this question comes to us from Krista via email. She says she is in the process of purchasing a new dressage saddle, and she's looking at different seat balances. I guess there's some more forward seats and more centered seats. I don't know how to describe them, but I've sat in a lot of saddles, so I can kind of relate to this. Maybe you can explain the pros and cons of each seat balance for rider confirmation, or what goes into the process of deciding, where to balance the seat, or, what does the saddle maker do? I guess it comes down to the tree. That's just what I'm assuming, tree construction. Maybe you can explain the whole thing to us, Justin, because I got no idea.
Totally.
Obviously.
Yeah.
I'll try to make it as clear as possible. And just so your listeners know, I have a background in saddle fitting and more specifically saddle making. So hopefully that qualifies me. It's enough of a qualification to speak on it. And
I believe so.
Basically, you could loosely look at it as like three kinds of seat balances, right? And we're talking front to back, basically, for simplicity. We're talking front to back balance, which is forward, center, or rear balance seats. They're kind of how they sound, but the most common by a long shot is a center balance seat. And that's what, if you talk to most people, they'd probably say that's what you want. You want kind of, you sort of want to be lined up, from your ankle to your hips to your shoulders. And the center balance seat will do that usually most effectively, and it's usually the most comfortable. You'll see other stuff out there, sometimes whether a rider intends it or not, you'll look at them and see them in a chair seat, for example, and that's a rear balance. Now, whether that was their intention or it just sort of happened by accident, that would be an example of a rear balance seat. Forward balanced seats can be challenging. Now, there are certain riders that thrive in them, and they can be great in certain instances. They can also be a little bit hard to ride in. If you imagine, as you move forward in your seat, there's a little bit more pressure on the front of the seat. Your leg is oftentimes pulled a little bit straighter, and that can twist your pelvis forward, and that can, for a lot of riders, it can make put a little bit more pressure on their lower backs. So forward seat balances, in my experience, are very hit and miss for the rider. It has to be a very skilled or specific preference. But what I would look at, I think this kind of leads us to a little bit of a bigger topic here, which, at least for me, in my opinion, is a bigger topic, which is basically making sure that you get the most out of what you have. So what I think a lot of folks don't realize is the difference of literally 5 millimeters up or down in your saddle can make a big difference in how you feel in the seat and how it puts you in your position. And I think before we even start talking about buying a new saddle and where the seat is balanced, just be sure that you're getting the best out of what you have, which is make sure that your saddle is balanced level, make sure it's balanced correctly for your preference, for your horse. And you'll already be, I think, way ahead of the game before you even start worrying about how it was made. Because the how it's made discussion can get very, very specific, oftentimes include a trainer, a saddle fitter on site, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But if you can dial in your saddle a significant amount with a little bit of flocking or shimming, you can take a saddle from putting you in a chair seat to getting you centered very quickly. And there's a little bit of trial and error. You can find shimming pads all over the place. We, in fact, sell them. I think they're the best, but I'm biased. You can get pads that have shims that will affect the balance of the seat, and that'll let you get two things, basically. One is get your saddle balanced where it needs to be, and two, let you figure out where you're the most comfortable. So it's kind of a little bit of a hack, I guess is what I'm getting to, which is you can cheat the balance on your saddle just a teeny bit forward or backward with up to about 5 millimeters of shimming, and that'll get you hopefully to your sweet spot. If you're one of those riders that, say, for example, you have a sore back, you might want to shim the front of your saddle up just a teeny bit, and you'll feel a little bit of that relief into your back, or if you feel like you're posting and you're getting hit from behind with the seat, or you feel like you're getting pitched forward, same thing, lift the front of it just a teeny bit, and you'll be surprised how that can affect just your overall comfort and connection with your horse and everything. So that's kind of, I'm not sure if that's a 100% answer of your question, but I would encourage you to look at your own saddle and just make sure it's balanced for you and the best it can be before you go any farther.
So Justin, I have just a question. Yeah. I mean, I agree. I think it's one of those things you really have to, you really do need to have someone that you trust at least check your saddle. What would you say, 6 months or a year? I mean, when do you want people to, how often do you want their saddles checked?
Yeah, at least every year is good. Now, if you have a young horse or you're going, a horse is coming back from an injury, probably every 6 months is better, but at least every year.
Okay, that makes total sense for sure, because I think that you need to do that, because you're absolutely right. I mean, once you make an adjustment, it's amazing. You're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know I was that out of balance. Or, we're lucky because we just text you, we just say, hey, Justin, this is feeling weird. What's going on? And you'll come right back and say, hey, try this or try that, or you need to get it checked, or, so it's really, really good. But I have a question on, I always feel like I have a narrow twist. What does that mean? Because I don't like, I say that because I can't sit in a wide saddle. It really hurts. So how do you figure that out?
So the twist, in my experience, is largely just like a rider preference thing. You could, some folks will make an argument that it's the width of your pelvis and how you're shaped. You prefer one or the other. And that can be true in some cases, but also I think it's a lot of it is just based on what you used to ride in as a kid and what you're comfortable in. But basically the twist is in between, when you're sitting in the seat, in between your legs, kind of right at the base of your pubic bone is the shape you feel right there from the left to right standpoint. And as it gets skinnier in between your legs, you're essentially narrowing out the twist. And the narrow twist is very popular. I think it's more comfortable to sit in, more natural. Your legs can just sort of drop with a narrow twist, as opposed to feeling like you're sitting on a 2x4 sideways and getting your legs pulled apart a little bit.
Yes. Yes, I know that feeling.
No
it's
fun.
Not fun. Yeah.
Right. So that's what you're talking. That's what the narrow twist, or that's what a twist is right there. And kind of tying it back to saddle seat balance, the more forward you get in the balance of your seat in general, the more you'll feel the twist, and the more it can be sort of honestly a problem more than anything. As you're, if you're more centered, you're not putting
forward
too much
on that
weight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I noticed it like on your pubic bone. Like if you get your pelvis tilted forward, you'll sit right on your. Oh, that's super painful.
Well, especially I don't have the same equipment that you guys do, but I can imagine that is incredibly
being a guy,
painful.
And being rocked forward is a real problem.
Not okay. Yeah, not okay. Sure.
But I've had experience of sitting in a saddle like in a store. You plunk it on their saddle, whatever you call the saddle rack or what, and you have a sit in it, and oh man, that saddle feels really great. And then you get the same saddle on a horse, and it feels terrible. So what's going on there, Justin? I mean, I think it's just been a bad experience for me to try saddles, or like I might buy something in a store and then get on my horse and not like it at all, or vice versa. Yeah,
no, for sure. So part of that is obviously just going to be when you're actually moving. Every little thing kind of gets felt a little more, because you get a little bit of your weight forward, your weight back, and that makes an impact. But I would also guess that we're really tying this back to seat balance. Now, I think when you're sitting it on the plastic horse in the tack shop, it's probably sitting in a pretty different position on that plastic horse than it is on your actual horse. And usually where the way it feels good in the store and bad in real life is when it's sitting a little bit high in the front in the store, and you're kind of sitting back in it like, oh yeah, this is a nice couch.
Yeah.
And then you get it on your horse, and it might be a little bit pitched forward, and then suddenly like everything 180s, and you're getting pushed into the pommel, or the cantle's coming up at you, or maybe it's pulling your legs back and it's putting pressure on your hip flexors or something. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that can get manipulated and get out of whack if it's not in balance.
That makes total sense. And it's so true. I mean, that's the thing is, if you don't know that your saddle's not in balance, you don't know. But when you get it balanced, then you're like, oh, this is so different. And I think that's what, when I'm home, I don't always, Florida's different. When you're down here, you can call someone, they're here the next day. It's not a big deal. But when I'm home and I'm not seeing somebody for maybe 6 months, and I have a young horse that's very different from when we leave Florida to the fall, that's where you really have to get, you have to understand when you need to shim and how you shim. And like you said, you have a great product, and we're lucky to have it and use it. Because those are the times where once you're back in balance, you can really feel the difference. So I just think that's the thing, is you do need a relationship with someone to really help you, or to understand, sort of how to use the right products. So, Justin, you are just an amazing resource for us, and we're so thankful for you. So if our listeners, how do they find you and Total Saddle Fit online?
Your best bet is to go to totalsaddlefit.com. Now, you can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/totalsaddlefit, or Instagram.com/totalsaddlefit. But if you go to Google, type in the words Total Saddle and Fit, you will certainly find us.
Awesome. Well, Justin, thanks so much for coming on the show. We always like it when you're here and you can answer these questions for us. It's fantastic. So thanks so much, and we look forward to next time.
It's been wonderful. Thank you, guys.
Well, Phil, I love this show. We got lots of great questions, and we really love questions because it really helps us focus on what you guys want. So feel free to reach out. That one was at Facebook and one was an email to me, and we love them. So keep them coming. And as always, you can find our show notes and links to today's guests on our website, dressageradio.com. Like us on Facebook, just search Dressage Radio Show. Follow us on Twitter at Horse Radio. My website is maplecrestfarmky.com, and my email is reese@horseradionetwork.com.
I think the best way to find me is through Facebook, or my email is philip@horseradionetwork.com. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week for allowing us to put on a show. And don't forget to check out all the other shows on the Horse Radio Network at horseradionetwork.com.
Everybody, keep your heels down and your shoulders back, and we'll talk to you next week.